Hello and welcome to Everyday Petrolhead. I am your host, Terence Anderson, and thank you for tuning into my channel. So what are we going to talk about today? Why are the current crop of EV vehicles pretty much hideous? I don't really understand why manufacturers feel the need to make nearly every electric vehicle look unattractive. What makes even less sense is the fact that manufacturers can easily take their current crop of vehicles and drop an electric drivetrain into it. So it perplexes me why there's a need to always make the electric car look unattractive. We all know that gasoline and diesel are finite resources. You know, whether we run out in the next 50 years, 100 years, or 1,000 years, the reality is we're going to run out of this fuel. And we don't seem to be in an urgency of any kind to prepare a solution for after this. Whereas when you look at electricity, electricity is all around us. We can access it in so many different ways. Solar, wind, water, you know, and it's a renewable resource. It's not like we can ever destroy energy. Energy can be changed and reused, but we can't really destroy energy or create it. So we have electricity. The sun gives us the ability to harness electricity via solar panels. So many options on how to get a renewable resource that won't impact our environment, yet we won't pursue them. Or I should say, we're not pursuing them seriously enough. So if you look at the history of the electric car was originally invented in the early 1800s with various inventors adding various parts and components to it. So I can't really say one specific person created the electric car, but suffice to say they essentially took the gas or diesel motor out of the vehicle and dropped an electric one in. And it's a simple swap and solution back then because of course everything was much simpler. Most drivetrains were chain driven. So the motor, you could just take it off and put it on the sprocket that was the drive shaft, part of the drive shaft, and you're good to go. They weren't really fast, but they didn't need to be because back then gas cars weren't fast in the first place. So there was no urgency. It was more the fact of being able to get from point A to point B without having to walk there. So being armed with this knowledge, you would think that car manufacturers would, you know, maybe consider taking their current crop of cars, because I mean, since the 1800s they've done this, right? Or people have done this themselves, and simply take the gas motor out, put the electric motor in, and go from there. Rather than doing this, what they've decided to do was to provide us a myriad of variable versions of four-wheel cheese wedges. Every single one of them. Cheese wedge, cheese wedge, cheese wedge, cheese wedge. I can keep going, but you get the point. They all look the same, they all look like a block of cheese, and they'll feed you the nonsense about aerodynamics being the reason why they go with the shape. But let's be honest, there are so many other things that can be done to provide more aerodynamics, and it's really not saving you anything when you're just driving a few miles per hour, 20, 30, 40, 50 miles per hour throughout the city. Why do you need aerodynamics that deeply when you're not driving that fast in the first place? Most of us are not driving fast enough to take advantage of aerodynamics, so that's a crock of crap. So why is it they've decided to go with the idea of designing secondary cars versus just using their current lineup? Because battery technology has gotten to the point where it's a viable option. Well, think about it. If you bought an all-electric vehicle, would you actually buy any of those gasoline vehicles? No. You would buy the electric vehicle because it would save you money. It could get you where you need to go. Other consideration is, would you buy an electric vehicle to drive throughout the week that looked stylish, you know, or current design, something that you like that has an electric version, just so you can drive your sports car or SUV on the weekend? Yes. Yes, you would. I know I would. I'm not even gonna lie about it. I would drive that all day, every day, so I can drive a sports car on Saturday and Sunday. All day. And the reality is that people always cite one of the main deterrents from buying an electric car is range anxiety. Listen, the average person lives within 30 to 50 miles at most from their job. So that's a turnaround of anywhere from, 60 to 75 miles or more, give or take. I mean, I'm about 35 miles from my house. So if you have a car that does 200 plus miles of range, you have more than enough miles to get to work, get home, or even go to the grocery store or wherever you want to go before going home without worrying about charging. Most standard EVs nowadays can do 300 miles on a charge without a problem. And that technology is just getting better and better. And it's primarily the battery, not anything else. But the battery tech is getting so good that 300 plus miles will be cracked pretty soon. The biggest brand that's made a splash in the last, 10 years or so is Tesla, which we all know and love their designs. What did they do? They married a brilliant design with an amazing motor and great battery technology for the first run at it. And it works. It simply works. There is no denying the capability of a Tesla. They successfully combined technology with beautiful design inside and out that allows you to have all the creature comforts you want inside and look good driving it and getting the range you need to get from point A to point B without a problem. The DIY market now is growing. There are several companies out here in SoCal that offer options for, fully converted electric cars. And usually what most DIYers are doing is taking late model or even current model cars and doing the swap, taking the electric motor and taking the gas motor out and possibly transmission and mounting an electric one. Some people have done the conversion where they're even able to keep their manual transmission and still have a 5 or 6 speed shifter with the electric motor. That's a lot of fun when you think about it. It's like, what? I can do that? I can paddle, well, not paddle shift, but I can shift my car and have a great time driving my car and not worry about having to pull up to the pump after being very spiritedly driving around town. That is awesome. The next argument against the all-electric vehicle is, oh, well, guess what? You can't drive with a bunch of people in the car because it has to be a tiny car. Or, you can't have an SUV. Tesla already killed that. Their SUV seats 7 people. And there are several manufacturers that have done SUVs or pickup trucks. Hell, one of them has a pickup truck that tows their electric car to the racetrack to drag race and drift all around the track. It's not impossible anymore. The reality is, the biggest concern when it came to these motors were, they don't have enough power to carry that many people. Well, let's use some examples. My BMW is a 2006 X5, 4.4 liter that has about roughly 320 horsepower, give or take, and 300 foot-pound of torque. And I love driving this thing, and it's nice and powerful. That being said, one guy created an electric Miata that had 182 horsepower, but 400 pound-feet of torque. Think about that for a second. This little electric motor had more torque than my V8 currently has. And that's crazy because essentially I could technically put that in here and have more than enough power. Another guy created a minivan that had about roughly 400 horsepower and well over 500 pound-feet of torque. That is incredible when you think about it in the grand scheme of things. To have a vehicle that is so reliable to put up that much torque and not have to worry about, really anything. Can the car put the power down? Does the car feel right? Those are not concerns anymore when it comes to electric vehicles. It's more so, do you want to make the investment? And a lot of these DIYers have done the conversions for reasonable price. They haven't spent a lot of money on their conversions in the first place. So they're not looking at spending crazy dollars to make this car. You don't have to go out and spend $60,000 to $80,000 on a Tesla. You have a car in your garage that you're currently considering, getting rid of, swap the motor on your Accord. You have a Honda Accord that you paid for, it's paid out outright, why not? It's not really a hard conversion. may set you back $5,000 to $8,000, give or take, possibly 10 grand if you want something with a nice amount of power. But that's kind of it. It's really not that hard. You know, the hardest part is, do you have the knowledge to put this together? Do you have the battery tech to make it work? And that is very, very doable in this day and age. Then the next hurdle we have to deal with is looking at infrastructure. Many people say we don't have the infrastructure to support this. In the 1800s, all around New York City was littered with charging stations. Many of those were ripped out by various conglomerates for the gasoline corporations when they decided to try to kill the electric car the first time. So that's clearly the major negative deterrent towards this situation. But it's not impossible to do this. So there's that. The other option you have is you could charge it at home. Charging your car at home overnight after a hard day's work and you get home and you want to relax, that is so easy to do. You know, think about it. They say, oh, it's going to be 7 to 8 hours to charge. Well, you get home at 5 or 6 and you don't drive till about what, 10, 11 o'clock? That is more than enough time for you to have your car fully charged and ready to go. You know, when you think about it, it just makes plain sense. Where are you going today? Where are you going? I don't understand California drivers. On a 240 volt charge, you can cut that time in half. So yes, they take some time to charge, but in the grand scheme of things, with the amount of range that you actually get out of an electric car nowadays, there's no real reason why you can't make this work and save yourself money. The amount of money you will pay in the extra boost in electric fees will pay for itself, because the gas cost you're going to save that same month is ridiculous in comparison. So yeah, oh, your electric bill might go up another $10, $15, $20, but you're not paying $80 a week in gas. So you're saving all of this money anyway that can benefit you in the long run. So in closing, what do I have to say about all of this? Designers have already nailed the way cars look. We love how our cars look these days. Hell, we love how old cars look even. So let's get past the fact that yes, the electric car can last 500,000 miles, maybe even more, as long as it's taken care of. And let's get down to business of creating these things. Drop the electric drivetrain inside of a regular car that we already know and love. And it makes everyone happy. You know, think about it. The amount of people who love Camrys, I don't love Camrys, but they love Toyota Camrys, and those things already last 200 to 300,000 miles. Take the gas motor out, put the electric one in, put the battery pack in there. You know, you can make it work. The power to weight is there. So there's no real argument for why we can't do this. Hell, give me an electric M5 any day and that'll make me a happy man. I hope you enjoyed this. If you do like what I've been talking about, like, share, and subscribe. And I'll join you next time with your Everyday Petrolhead. Thanks.